The biggest lie that I believed about my emotions is that there's nothing for me to do, that I am trapped. And I see people getting trapped again and again by the same patterns, by the same emotions, and they cannot feel, they don't know how to get out of those patterns. And this is why I want to deconstruct today how you can aim for emotional freedom as well, not only financial freedom. And I am Felicia Boka. I'm certified as a solution-focused coach. I work with people from their first $10,000. I have clients who are running multi-million-dollar businesses. We are aiming for, financial freedom, but then what actually we do crave more than that is actually having emotional freedom. Because no matter the level of success we achieve, because we don't know how to navigate our emotions, we feel more trapped than ever, fearful that the client is going to leave, reacting to a team member that made a mistake, and our days are just constant pressure and stress, right? So therefore, how do we do that? One big shift that really shaped my thinking around emotions is the work of the neuroscientist Lisa Feldman Barrett. You have to read her book, How Emotions Are Made. It's quite packed, and there she has a lot of other books as well in research that she published. The first thing that was so revealing when it comes to how we navigate our emotions is that our brain is always a predicting machine, but one thing that is primarily doing is assessing our bodily sensations, like assessing what is really happening, how is the glucose, how is did we sleep well, all the hormones, all the things. And basically we have a body budget, right? Like in energy wise, right? Our mind is always assessing the body budget and is going to dictate what kind of actions you're going to take based on that in different contexts, right? So if you wake up and last night you decided to stay up late and watch one more episode because your mind was asking what's going to happen next, our mind cannot help but actually wants to know the answer to the questions that it is asking. And this is like a topic big for this channel, the kind of questions we ask, how it actually dictates how we experience life and where we put our focus and our energy. So basically you wake up, right? So if you're tired, one event in the morning, you're going to react completely different if you would have been well rested versus if you stayed late and you are not really aware that you don't have actually the energy to deal with whatever problem. You might react with anger or with disappointment instead of understanding and curiosity and, okay, how can we move on? How can we solve this thing? We react differently based on our body budget. If a team member messes things up, makes a mistake, and we always assess, you're going to procrastinate, you're not going to do the right thing, you're going most likely get yourself to just do things that you have the energy to do it, because the brain is constructing what you're going to do next based on your body budget. And that's why we have to always ask this question, what is the cause? What do I feel? Build a lot of awareness in order to manage your emotions and your mood by actually taking care of yourself. The more you take care of yourself, the more you are like in a stable, you show up to whatever things that you're dealing with from more a healthier way, a healthier aspect, because you are not sleep deprived, undernourished, and most people are operating in this vicious cycle. Waking up tired, always feeling behind, drinking more coffee, going to sleep late, working late, reacting to things, and then just this is how life goes on, one day at a time. So we need to change that, and that's why I'm here. We need to actually become aware, and basically the first thing in order to have a body budget that is on positive. Like, be aware that the cause, it might be that you have a depleted body budget, therefore you overreact. So how can you take care of yourself? And maybe in that moment you say, okay, today I'm deprived, so I need to go for a walk. I need to take a rest. I need to take a deep breath. I need to reconnect with what's happening in my body. So therefore I can respond differently to the things that are happening in my life. So awareness again and again around your body budget. Now there's another difference between, discomfort, which is actually your body is in discomfort. It's a physical thing that you experience, and therefore you ask the question, what is it that I can do in order to take care of myself so I can show up differently for the things that are important for me today? On the other side, we have the suffering part, which is actually how we interpret what the physical sensations, but also how we interpret the context that we are in, the people, how we start to, blame the situation, blame the economy, blame the person for what they are asking from us, and we cannot provide them, right? So basically, a lot of suffering is actually coming from this interpretation of what is wrong with me or what is wrong with the world is not coming from actually the discomfort in itself. It's actually amplified by the meaning that we give to what we feel. Why do I always mess things up? You mess things up because you don't have the clear thinking to actually deal with it or move forward with, right? That can be a source. Now we are going to dive into one of the most exciting things around emotions. So it is understanding how we have a structure. We basically having a structure on how to understand emotions. We have practical ways on how we can change and influence how we navigate emotions. So for example, the first element is the time frame. We understand that emotions operate on a time frame. For example, you have anxiety is about something that is going to happen in the future, right? You feel very much uncertain. You think that you don't have the capability to deal with the worst case scenario that you're building. So it's like, what if the worst case scenario happens and they are going to laugh at me? The thing is going to now, a lot of anxiety about AI that is going to take your job or it's going to destroy your business, right? What if that happens, right? And then you increase your anxiety, you might increase it even more, and that's we're going to talk about later on is like the intensity, transform it in panic. But you can also lower it, right? It can be concern. Okay, I'm concerned that this is going to happen. Then the question becomes, okay, what is exactly that I can do? Who can help? What questions can I ask so I can get more clarity about this? Is there anything that I can do to prepare myself, right? If you feel anxious about a presentation, you can practice more. You can structure it better. You can go to the place and get familiar with the place. So when you go and present, your brain tells you, oh, we know this place. There's nothing to worry about. There's nothing threatening here. So therefore, you are safe. So then you lower your anxiety with that familiarity. The other side, on the time frame as well, we have overwhelm. It's a big topic right nowadays because there's so many things that we have to do, or there are a lot of things on our plate to do on a day-to-day from, especially women dealing with business, home, kids, and we get overwhelmed, right? And sometimes it's just the overwhelm is like a time frame, right? We need to do all these things in a limited time frame, and therefore we have a limited body budget and a capacity to actually deal with the things. So once we understand, okay, I'm overwhelmed, therefore what can I do? Can increase my energy, but this is what we ask the wrong question. How can I do it all? Like, how can I increase my energy so I can be able to do it all? A better question is like, okay, what are the things that I have on my plate? What can I, remove? What can I delegate? And what is actually the most important thing that actually only I can do? Or how can I extend the time frame, right? Because if you have an exam next week and you have a lot to study and prepare for, or you have an exam next month, just by, extending the time frame, you stop feeling overwhelmed, right? So time frame is very important. When we think like grief or nostalgia, it's about the past, right? So if we are experiencing grief, it's like because we've lost something, right? And I've seen a lot of women entrepreneurs who felt like they didn't do the things that they wanted to do, right? I, for example, studied economics. I wanted to study psychology. I was more interested in that. I worked as an accountant, and I felt like those years of trying to get good at something that I didn't enjoy or like or wanting to get good at, and doing that just because of social pressure and because of, doing things from the surviving and fear, like answering the question, how can I make sure that I'm going to have a job? So therefore, I'm going to feel safe. So I prioritize that over my own happiness or my own curiosity. How can I make sure that I'm going to be able to make a living? I know people who just studied law and therefore they were miserable and couldn't actually be good lawyers because it was not something that was exciting for them. They were not genuinely curious about the thing. We might experience grief as a loss and therefore build a story that we could have been further ahead because we would have invested our energy in the right thing. We understand this one, and then the real question here, it becomes like, okay, what have I lost? I could have been further. Where would I have been if I wouldn't have, lost all this time? Fantasizing these elements, it's actually what keeps us, stuck, right? We are not able to take any kind of action in order to change that because we cannot change the past. But what we can do is like actually changing the questions, and therefore changing the questions instead of pushing things away. I didn't like that experience. It was so bad. It didn't serve me. But it was a lot of suffering with it. The more we push it, the more it comes back to us. The more it's coming to, it wants something from us, right? So what can we do is like welcoming it with curiosity, okay? How was that good for me? What did I learn? How can I use that learning to actually do something with it, do something good? When you lean in with this kind of curiosity towards how everything that happens or happened is serving you and is good for you, it's something that is a resource and you can use it. It's actually what I call builds like a thriving mindset, a winning mindset. You train your brain to see wins and good, and that is serving you in everything. Therefore, you're no longer so much scared of negative emotions or experiences or challenges. You welcome them with a set of questions that are actually helpful, that are actually more constructive. So it has always to do with defining more of what is it that you want instead. It has to do with what kind of actions that you can take right now. Any action towards what is it that you want, it tells your predictive brain that now the future is going to look different. It's not going to look more of the same. You haven't lost anything. Everything is a win. Everything is like adding up and you are on the right path. The second element in understanding emotions is involvement. So some emotions are passive, like guilt, for example, right? Like mom guilt. When you are working, you think I should be with the kids or I should check on the kids. When you are on vacation, you think about work. When you are working, it's always like it doesn't let you to enjoy and be fully present for the thing that you are doing. And it tells you that whatever you are doing is wrong or you're not doing enough. And therefore, it can be even construct an identity thing that you are not such a good mom for me, for example, how it was. So therefore, the question becomes, okay, what is exactly the thing that is most important for me in order to, that I do, that will, I would say, I'm a good mom. And for me, it was like, okay, it's not about me supervising everything my kids do. It's actually me having conversations with them every evening about how was their day, what they experienced, what were their thoughts, how they interpret those experiences, who are they friends with, what do they appreciate in those friends. I said, like, I want to be the one that is having this conversation and shaping their thinking. That would make me feel like I don't have to spend so much more time, or I don't have to be so involved into their academics. I am involved into their thinking about understanding themselves and really building clarity towards their future. Another emotion that is really passive is, for example, shame. There's so many aspects on how we experience shame, but I'm sharing one that I've been dealing once I moved from, I grew up in a village in Romania. I moved to the city to continue my studies, and it was because my aunt helped me, and this is a different story, but basically I moved out of Romania. Initially, we moved with the family in Spain, Tenerife, for a few years, and now we are in Bali. People are asking me again and again in order to connect, where are you from? And for a long time, I was experiencing shame because I felt like I don't want to answer that question, because I thought like, if they know where they come, they will just perceive me differently, that they will not like me that much, they will not see me for who I am, they will stop being curious about me. And it is because in Romania, people just have a story about the location, about the country. And they say like that, we have a beautiful country, it's just a pity that is populated. So basically it was always this comparison that we are worse than others, that we are so bad that we don't, and it was like language of like collective, like everybody, we are this identity and therefore this is who we are. So it was like, it's not like I'm different. We were talking, we are like that. When I got and I observed that, I realized that you build an identity as a common language, like, and you carry that story wherever you go about who you are, right? And I didn't want to say that, right? Until I was experiencing shame, until I actually changed the story. Where is this coming from? It's coming from this story I tell myself of the place that I didn't choose. I've been born there, therefore that's it. Like there was nothing like, oh, I did choose to be born. And therefore, when you are traveling, you also get the perspective about different places, because we were like, from there, we were always comparing with people that we perceive them that they are like acting better, doing better economically, how they live their life and so on. But never compared it with other places on this earth that are struggling or they're dealing with worse situation, with less resources, with less access to things, right? Once you get a bigger picture, like you can just be, this is it, and you don't attach shame. And when I do speak, I have so many images about Romania with the mountains, the rivers that I enjoy hiking, we enjoy it with the family, I enjoy the food. So I've attached more positive emotions. So in order, when I say it from not a shameful place, but this is it. So even if we have like a passive emotion, you always have to look on how we can change it in order to be, what is exactly that I can do right now, right? How can I change the story? What is important here? And therefore making it like, you only change actually your brain's predictions when you take a different type of action, when you have a different type of perspective on a thing, a different kind of understanding, because now it's using that data in order to predict a different kind of future. Because I was predicting they are going to reject me if they know where they want. I don't know that. Like, I can just give them the information, or I can show up neutral. I don't know what is really going to happen. Maybe they don't have the same story, right? Maybe they don't know anything about the country. And it's just a question that is like, feels the most easy or comfortable to ask, because it gives you something. On the other side, we have active emotions. And these are like people who are, for example, default to anger because they know that it's an active. They generate change. Like with anger, you generate change because you put people in a state of fear. You communicate maybe your standards, your expectations. You set boundaries. Anger is an active, is a higher state, for example, than shame and guilt. And people look up to people who are angry, and maybe some people get away with showing up with this pattern of angerness because they get things done. They move things somehow, right? Even if they get the people around them in a state of fear, they still are more involvement. So that's why sometimes if you are in apathy and you say, what's the point of doing anything, because nothing is going to change, it takes too much, how do I know I am going to be successful? How do I know that this is worthy of my time or effort? So therefore, at one point you get like, I cannot not express my wants and needs anymore. And you burst in anger, right? And you express, you don't suppress anymore what is it that you want. You dare to actually put it out there. So anger is more active, right? Even if it can be appropriate in a certain context, right? For a limited amount until you might ask, okay, what's a better way to express this energy, to express what I need, to actually get people motivated so we move things forward. It can be showing up with determination, showing up with excitement. You can also inspire people to join you, and you enroll them, and you get and to move towards the things that you want. There are better ways for different contexts. I'm not saying that anger is like it's really bad. I was scared for a long time of angry people. I always thought being angry is so bad. For example, after studying economics, working in accounting, whatever, being a stay-at-home mom for some years, at one point I didn't know what I want to do next. So therefore, I suppressed my own needs for a long time, looking at society, looking at the people around me to tell me what should I do. But then one time I burst with anger because I started to verbalize the things that I do want. It felt better in that moment, and I managed to express something that was suppressed. And that was a good for that moment, right? The next element of the structure of emotions is intensity. We kind of touched on this one, right? So basically you have anxiety, but you can increase the volume and you have panic, or you can decrease the volume and you have concern. What actually it does here, playing with intensity, you actually build a bigger spectrum for emotions instead of just feeling, I feel bad, or I feel good, I am happy, or I am sad, or I'm angry, right? These are like the basic emotions. But the more we play with intensity, with like adjusting the volume, you get to have more what the neuroscientist Lisa Feldman Barrett called emotional granularity. So therefore you improve your language in terms of expressing emotions. This is like really how you improve your emotional intelligence a lot, by actually being able to identify in different contexts the kind of emotion that you are constructing and you are navigating. By adjusting this volume, it's more healthier and it's more specific, right? So therefore, the more specific it is, the easier it is to work with it, to navigate through it. Because even if you say you feel bad, it's like nothing, right? It doesn't, you feel bad, then you have to go like dig deeper. What is this connected with, right? It's an event from the past, or it's an event from the future. You look at the time frame, okay? And you look at the involvement. Is it bad? Is it like anger? Is it sadness? What's this bad about, right? And therefore, the more you have language for it, you use your cognitive to not just live it in your body, it's also expressed cognitively. So here in intensity, right? Like when you are dealing, for example, you're overwhelmed. Sometimes you don't move that instantly from, being overwhelmed to being peaceful and calm. You can move like being concerned, for example, right? It's a new word. I'm concerned, how am I going to get all these things done? And therefore you lean in more with curiosity, right, towards what is the concern about and what you can do about it. Now, as I said, right, emotions are not really like something that we have to, choose only positive emotions and that negative emotions are bad. I think they are, understanding them, we can navigate and actually show up and use our energy in the best way possible. And I think this is what I care the most. You might feel like overly excited by, for example, I was joining a coaching program and I was overly excited about, the promise that I'm going to move my coaching business from Romanian to international. And basically because of that super excitement, I failed to ask all the questions about the program, like what's the skill that I'm going to develop? Am I actually going to be able to achieve that in 10 weeks? That's how long is the program. I started with a lot of enthusiasm, or a lot of excitement around the idea, and then I moved very fast into a high level of anxiety, realizing that there's so much unknown. I don't know if I'm going to do this. And I felt like I don't have the support or the clarity in order to actually be able to be successful in the time frame, which was a combination, right? The overwhelm, but also so much unknown. And that was anxiety, because overwhelm is like, you know what you have on your plate and you have the time frame, but with anxiety, you don't even know. Like, you have a lot of unknowns and a lack of capacity to actually think that you can deal with all the unknowns that are there when it comes to building a business in the international space. How do you get clients? How do they trust you? I wished in that moment to be more cautious, right? And to ask more questions at the beginning, and to decide for myself, okay, I want to invest this thing and I'm going to develop this specific skill. And this is how I'm going to be supported in order to achieve that. So that would have been a better state than just this overexcited. And I've seen people again and again just paying, high ticket, a lot of money out of their savings and stuff, and then be overly excited about how overnight their life is going to change, dealing with a lot of disappointment, and then blaming themselves because they couldn't actually do all the things that were required in the limited amount of time that was given for the program that they enrolled. Clarifying questions. So not all the time positive emotions are really good. It's good that you're like joining, but definitely you can process that and say, okay, I stepped in with a lot of excitement. I didn't assess this properly. But then when you're dealing with all those other emotions, like, how is this good for me? What still I can take away from this? How is this going to actually indeed help me forward? And this is how I've been able to deal with that situation in order to build that thriving mindset, where this maybe didn't come from the best, for the most clarifying state or thriving, or it was like a huge unrealistic expectations that I've set or were implied in the sales call. But I can still get out what I can and what can I learn, and just still making it a win for me. It's still something that grows me. It's an opportunity that I can, do some stuff, right? And learn something, and it's still good for me. Now there's a lot of things to talk about emotions. I can go on, and I'm going to have other videos about different types of emotions to go, from different angles, different contexts, in order to give you the skills and the tools and the right questions that you can ask yourself in order to navigate, challenges and emotions with more ease, because you have understanding, because you know what questions to ask. And this is a really great power, because I've talked again and again, but the questions that we ask, it's like where we direct our thoughts, our energy, what the brain is trying to find evidence, in the environment, what is actually recollecting from our thoughts. Well, this was very helpful for me, and it's something that I help also clients by really asking them the right questions for the specific situations they're dealing with, in order to create more clarity. Therefore, they feel more confident, therefore they take action towards the things that they want and are aligned with what is exactly that they really want, and it's coming from their own inner curiosity and desires, I would say. And if you haven't watched the confidence video, then go and watch that one. I deconstruct the confidence emotion in how you can build more of what is exactly what is coming from. A lot of things there to be helpful. So if you have any questions, I will really be happy to answer any of your questions in the comments, or if you have suggestions, what kind of topic do you want me to go next in the next video? We can continue this conversation further. Thank you so much, and see you in the next one.